A warm welcome to a Podful of Saints on Wednesday, the 27th of September, 2023. Oh, we've got joyous news to look back on. And who's looking back? Well, myself, David Tavener. Looking out the window there is Jake Ellacott.
Hello, Dave. Hello, Lee. Hope you're both well.
Well, hello, Lee. He's totally focused Lee Wood. He's not looking out of windows.
Hope you're well. I don't think you mean that, Jacob. But yes, anyway, I'll play along. I'm well, mate. How the devil are you fellas? Are we all good?
Never been better, Lee.
Oof. I'm sure we'll soon fix that, Tabs, won't we?
Right. Yes, we're looking back on last Saturday's game, our 1,520th win on a Saturday for David Noble's Super Sawway Saints, away to Chelmsford City. In fact, most of those wins seem to have been at Melbourne Park, don't they? We're 7 games unbeaten there now. I think there's 2 issues to talk about here. The result, which to me was our best of the season, an excellent win there. I know it's their 3rd successive defeat and they looked out of sorts completely. And the game overall, I think it's 2 separate things. And we let Jake kick off. What did you think about overall, Jake?
Result-wise, really, really good. We talked about, I talked about last week that I think this game could be a real indicator of where our season is going to go. And I think we stepped up performance-wise. Well, maybe not performance-wise, but results-wise. Anyway, I think we stepped up on Saturday and we got a really good win. And suddenly that gap to the top, or to the top 7 and even to the top 2 is suddenly really closed up, hasn't it? And it just shows this division how tight it is. Everyone has beaten everyone already, but we've seen just a little bit of form. A little bit of form will take you a long, long way. And Saturday's win was really, really good. I think we knew it was going to be difficult at times against Chelmsford, although having said that, they didn't exactly pose us loads of issues. But it was just really good performance. And when you've got a goal scorer up front in Shaun and you've got 2 chances like that, he knows how to put them away, even though, if we're honest, he probably could have got a hat-trick. But yeah, just a really positive afternoon for me on the pitch. And suddenly it now feels like Nobby and the team have a little bit of momentum, which is really important.
Chelmsford had 3 good chances. They should have taken all of them, not just one of them, and they didn't. I thought it looked weak in attack, and that helped to make it look relatively comfortable. Did you think it was quite comfortable, Lee?
I think I think you're right, mate, because the thing is, even when they were attacking, I'm not entirely sure they believed in what they were doing themselves. It was just a whole lack of conviction. I think they had a spell in the second half where they should have capitalised. Had some crosses that MJ had to sort of deal with in the first half, but apart from that, I think we were good in spells. I think we were very good in spells, and I think we were okay in others. I think you're going to put too much sort of chasm on the fact between the performance and the result. Now, either you're going to be on a massive wind up, or the medication hasn't quite kicked in for me yet, because the thing is, I don't think it was that bad. But then I'd like to know what you're comparing it to, because you've basically criticised every performance to date so far this season. And given the result against, a team who's going to be there or thereabouts, and as you say, probably the most impressive result of the season so far, I don't think the performance was all that bad. I think we were good in getting it down into the wings. We got it there quickly. I think the midfield, okay, there were some stray passes. I think Blackman probably had his most imposing game of the season. I think, but it all stems down to putting the ball in the back of the net, and Shaun Jeffers did that for us.
Yeah, I'll come on to Shaun in a minute. The game, I was not impressed by the game. No, I wasn't. But like I said earlier, it is our best result of the season. There's no 2 ways about that. Chelmsford went into it, as I said, 2 games. 2 successive league defeats, struggled against Ware in the FA Cup. And I really do think they look the poorest side that we've played so far this season. But whether it's confidence, it's got to be confidence, because they're not that bad a side, obviously. But we certainly looked it on Saturday. We punished them because we had a goal scorer in the side, and we'll come on to it, as Im was saying in a minute. But I didn't think we had to play that well. And I didn't think we did play that well. And the people around me in the first half were saying, good God, are these 2 sides really in the playoffs last season? Along with other derogatory remarks, because it was not an interesting game, most of it. But when we come on to Shaun Jeffers, he missed that one early on. one-on-one with the goalkeeper when he should have scored. But then up he comes. There we go. Shaun Jeffers putting the ball in the back of the net, and you can see the goalkeeper up there. He's got his arm up, celebrating a goal. But the thing was, because he was in that position when Ryan Blackman's shot was parried by the keeper, Shaun was there. In any other game this season, would we have had a forward ready to pounce like that? And the answer is almost certainly no. He's a predatory goal scorer, and that was the difference. And that is what we've possibly missing this season. And it was just great to see him out there. And that second finish was just a lovely finish, wasn't it?
It was, and the fact that I bumped into Mitchell's dad in the clubhouse afterwards, and he was saying pretty much what everyone else has been saying the whole entire season. Play them both. He said that Mitch thrives when Shaun plays. The thing is, this isn't the Shaun Jeffers show. Better players have come and gone from this club, but it's the best thing for the team, because when Shaun plays, you get the best out of Mitch, which is what his dad was saying. Mitch likes it when Shaun plays, and he's probably going to, up the game with 2 or 3 players around him as well. So it's a knock-on effect, and I think that the fact is that second goal, that just absolute class. And I think Mitch himself had a chance not too earlier on where he took a touch and maybe he should have hit it sort of a first time, and that's the difference between someone who's playing up front and a striker, who's that is his job. And I think it's the small margins, but you play them together, this is what can happen. Good things can materialise from it.
Shaun is not going to score every game. We know that. But in the 69 games when Shaun and Mitchell Weiss have started together, they scored 58 goals. I don't think we've got another partnership like that anywhere else in the team. It stands out like a sore thumb, doesn't it? Sticking those two together and see what comes of it. And also, I think it shows the problems that Chelmsford have got. I've said it in other games this season. Every side looks weak up front this season. And we saw it with Chelmsford again with those chances. They couldn't take them, couldn't even get a shot away or shot on target in the end. And there we are now. We've got Shaun Jeffers. It's a point you made in the past, Lee, that other sides are looking at him now, which makes it easier in a way for Mitch as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's every match day, the question on all our lips, Jake, we're in the pubs beforehand, and it's like, does he start? No. Does he start? No. And on Saturday, does he start? Yes! Jesus Christ! What is going on here? And it was literally jubilation, elevation. Seriously, it was massive, massive. And all of our spirits were raised, weren't they? And you can imagine that's got to have an effect on the players he's playing with as well. And also it's detrimental to, mentally to the opposition, because they think, hang on a minute, he's playing against us. Of course he's going to score. And he did. First half, he should have had that glorious, that chance, which, I think if he'd had a run of games, chances he probably puts that away. But it's about him being in the right place at the right time. Horrible, horrible cliche associated with all strikers, but it's a proven fact. He did more, though. He did more than just score those 2 goals. He made opportunities. He put their pressure under him. He put their defence under immense pressure. Something which players always, can't be accused of this season. And I think that Nobby's now, he's almost painted himself into a little bit of a corner about sort of going forward now, because he's got options to hand.
Well, it's interesting. What do you think, Jay? If Gio Rasulu had been fit, he was ill. He wasn't injured. He was ill. Would Shaun have started? What do you reckon, Jake?
I'm not sure if he would have, even though sort of David Noble did say in his post-match, didn't he? He said, Shaun always scores at Melbourne Park against Chelmsford. He always scores here, always scores against them. But I don't think he would have necessarily. I think Nobby was sort of forced into it, and it was a great decision in the end. It worked perfectly. And I think Gio Rasulu, I think he's not been, a 10 out of 10 performance every game, has he, so far this season? He's had bright moments. We saw that in the FA Cup. He scored a few decent goals. But we didn't necessarily miss him on Saturday, did we? There wasn't suddenly... He's like the sort of almost at times creative link between the midfield and the attack. But we still had that, though, without him in the team. And I think that shows, again, that we have got options and depth in the squad throughout the team. And that's what we haven't really used so far this season. We've talked about it a few times, haven't we? But we do have that now. And for me, it was just noticeable, even in the first half, just how every time going forward, we look dangerous. that Chelmsford defence, they're no mugs. You know, Dave Winfield, we know he's an absolute colossus at the back. He's a nightmare to deal with for a lot of strikers. But Shaun Jeffers dealt with him perfectly, caused so much trouble. And again, they pretty much had to have two centre-halves on Shaun at all times. And all the space that opened up for Mitch, the midfielders, and the likes of even Blackman charging from deep. So much space, it worked perfectly. And every time we went forward, there was an audible sort of surge in the Saints supporters thinking, we could score here. And why is that? Because we've got Shaun Jeffers on the pitch. And even if he doesn't score, he opens up the space for someone else to score.
Yeah, interestingly, we had another striker come on, didn't we? He's been around a bit, this lad. He's played for a few clubs. What's his name? Ibri Akanbi. We've got him from Tunbridge Angels, where he's thrashed in 1 goal in, I think, 9 games this season. He had a chance, pretty much like Shaun's, didn't he? 1-on-1, and he puts that wide, and you put a downer on him. But Shaun, you give him that leeway. It's funny, isn't it? Because obviously Ibi's not got any pedigree with us.
I don't think it's really about pedigree. I think it's just about what's gone beforehand. And the fact of the matter is, Shaun is held in the highest of esteem because of what he's done, his body of work, you know, and the fact that he scored so many fantastic goals for us. I thought he put himself around a little bit, actually, on Saturday. He was sort of pushed out wide a little bit more, but, you know, he was willing to get, and he got in the spaces and he caused trouble. I think the one thing, you know, Jake, you spoke about the Chelmsford back line, whilst they're sort of, you know, strong and dominating in the air, they were pushed off the ball far too easy. I think they looked a little bit lightweight. And I think that the one thing we had too much of, at the park, is strength on Saturday. And okay, if you're not putting on a performance that everyone likes and is easy on the eye, you can get away with it just by effort and determination. And we certainly had that in abundance.
Of course, another thing to actually praise our victory was what happened early on in the game. We lost Sam Brown. That's left back gone with injury in 20 minutes. In another 10 minutes, we lost Jack James, have a right back. So that's the 2 full-backs gone within half an hour. So to still keep a clean sheet after that happening, that is praiseworthy to the team.
Absolutely. I think we were talking about that after the game. We talked about it this week quite a bit. That is almost as impressive as our attacking display. I think the way the defence sort of dealt with the situation and coped pretty well at times, I thought, despite the injuries. 2 quite nasty-looking injuries as well. I mean, we saw Jack being carried behind the goal, didn't we, on gas and air. It sounds like both are okay at the minute, but, you know, they might be out for a little bit of time. And again, we talked about it 5 minutes ago, depth in the squad. We have options. We have defensive cover, people that can come in and do a bit of a job. And it wasn't perfect, but the defensive options worked. Now, we got that cover if those 2 players are out for a bit longer? Maybe not. We might have to dip into Dave's favourite market, not St Albans market, but the loan market. And that might have to do a job. But, you know, again, I was really impressed with the display at the back.
It's funny you say about defensive strength there. Well, it wasn't there on the bench. It's only Dan Bowery, who was the only defender, and he came on after 20 minutes. And the other one was Olu Lawal. I think he looks a nice, tidy player. I'm not sure what he's actually boosting the side with at the moment. He's waiting to make his mark, shall we say. He's certainly got ability, but needs to stamp himself on it a bit more. But again, he came on, didn't unsettle us. And then later on, Dylan Farge went off. I thought he was quiet as well, which is such a shame. We were looking forward to him coming back in the side. But as we say, it didn't really unbalance the side. Were you concerned at all when these injuries were mounting up, Lee?
I think, yes, you were concerned, but ultimately, I think what we've got now is the versatility of the players. And I think that people can sort of slot into position relatively well. There's a good mindset there, which I think Nobby spoke about in his post-match. Everyone's prepared to muck in. And I think, listen, another day we probably come unstuck against a better side. But ultimately, I don't think it costs us because the players that are coming in are good quality players. You know, and I think there's that mentality and the work ethic that people want to work for this team and work for each other. And there's a stability there. And we've got a good coaching setup who can change the tactics accordingly, depending on the situations that arise in a match day. And although losing both fullbacks wasn't far from ideal, I think the players that have come in, they did a job, they knew their job well, and they did it perfectly.
4 games without conceding a goal in the league. Quite an impressive stat. Only 2 off the club record for league games. Something to aim for.
Well, you've just jinxed it, haven't you? So it doesn't matter.
Well, no, we can let a couple in the FA Cup. We let one in Leiston, so we can let a couple in on Saturday as well. And then we go clean again for a couple more league games. But we're going to need some of these players coming back, because otherwise we are a bit lightweight for covering the end. We need Ben White back, and obviously we don't know Brown and James when they'll be back, but hopefully not too long.
No, but that's why we've got a squad, haven't we? So.
What do you think of Chelmsford? I know we touched on them, but on that performance, they did look really bright. I think one you also mentioned short of confidence, but they just didn't seem to have any ideas at all.
No, I mean, the thing about Chelmsford, I think it stems from last year as well. I think the playoff defeat to us hurt them more than I think, we could have given credit for. But I think you look at the club as a whole, you've got stewards arguing with fans arguing amongst themselves. The vibe is quite toxic. There's still a massive fallout between the board and the fans and the supporters club. And when that's all sort of going on, Simpson's still trying to do a good job. He's still trying to put a squad together. But ultimately, good players from 2 years ago aren't necessarily good players in this day and age. And I think what we've got is a refresh and a reboot and a resurgence of talent and faces coming in. I think that's what David Noble wanted to sort of impose upon this season. He didn't want to go through the same faces, going through the same tactics and the same motions, because things get quite stale. And I think that's where Chelmsford are now. I think we have got a younger, fresher, brighter outlook of players. And as you say, I think the future is bright. We've got to manage it well. Because the Shaun Jeffers thing, I think no one's really come out of it looking particularly glamorous. And it's going to prove sort of going forward that we need to sort of manage that well. So, but Chelmsford, that's Chelmsford. That's their dealings. We can only really focus on what we're doing. And we got a good result. And onwards and upwards into the Cup.
I'm not sure they would have had a lot of psychological problems, because both sides only they started in 11 on Saturday, included 3 players who were in the playoffs at the end of last season.
What I meant was I should have reiterated. Sorry, the fans. They were speaking to a couple in the bar, and they said, "Oh Christ, it's 3 points for you guys today. You always beat us here." And already we hadn't even ordered our beer, and that was in their mindset. We were living rent free in their heads before we'd even got into the ground. And I think that again, you had that mentality, and then the fans, they get on the home players' backs a bit earlier, and it was really weird, because we were at the side for the start of the second half, and the stewards were talking about throwing fans out, and the fans were having to pop back, and it was really sort of quite niggly, and I just don't think they were up for it at all. And you can see by the way that fans and players, applied themselves. It was just a bad day at the office for them, but a good one for us. So who cares?
Yeah, one more they should have looked at possibly chucking out was the father of one of their players. God, he's the most vile person I've been within listening range at a football ground, and I need to sort him out. Anyway, as you say, that is their problem.
Considering you stand with Tim some of the time, that's really quite impressive, actually.
Exactly, yes. Stick him on the list as well. Cheerio, Tim. Right, it takes us into the top 10 now. 9th in the table. We mentioned 4 clean sheets, 3 straight wins. Is it time to get this out again?
Oh, no. Why have you done that?
You washed it since the last time we were in it, Taz?
I mean, wash myself, Lee. Well, we're 10 games into the season now. We're almost a quarter of the way through. And you're looking at the standard all around, and you think, well, there's no reason why we can't make another challenge.
That's the spirit, David. See, Jacob, this is what we're here for, buddy. Hey,
right.
David Tavener, positivity train. Oh, everyone aboard. Come on. FA Cup, get rolling. Tavs, crack on.
FA Cup. Right, FA Cup, as you mentioned there, this coming Saturday, we're back off to Essex. We haven't been there for almost a week. Billericay Town, Bluntswall Road. What about Ishmael League Premier? Got a manager we're very familiar with in Gary McCann. Got a player we're rather familiar with, Tom Bender. And actually, one of Gary McCann's assistants is Fabio Valenti. He took with him from Hampton, a former City player as well. And I actually got a Danny Green there as well. They've made a rather decent start, haven't they? It's going to be a bit tougher than Leicester, one would have thought.
I mean, when we saw this hat come out, Sorry, when we saw this straw come out the hat,
we're in the hat.
We're in the hat. I don't think any of us were particularly infused. I think either because of the location we're having to go to, or because of the opposition. We've played Billericay how many times in the last few years before their sort of relegation last season? Was it last season they went down, or season before? Season before, wasn't it? Terrible memories of going there on a Tuesday night, losing 3-0. Terrible memories most times you go there. We haven't it's not been a happy hunting ground there in recent years, and it's going to be difficult. And I don't. Tom Bender, what's he going to do? I think we all know, don't we?
Red card, sent off. Yeah,
Jake,
take him off.
Jake, we've never lost 3-0 to Billericay.
Was it 2-0?
Wasn't it 2-0? Oh, it's a 2-0 there back in, but that's 2004. You weren't even born.
Ignore me then, don't worry.
Anyway, yes, I know what you mean. Yeah, we did lose there last time we went. It was midweek. Played them twice in the FA Cup, both times at Clarets Park. 1-0 defeat. Martin Carthy scored for them. That was 20 odd years ago. And then a 2-0 home win 10 years ago when John Frendale and Mark Nowotny scored, but they were both down the park, so totally irrelevant. Jake's given his summary of it there. Lee, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I share young Jacob's reservations about this one, Tavs. Not had any good experience. I think last time I went to Billericay, I think we were a couple of goals to good, and I think Harold Joseph got sent off.
Oh,
that's possibly his last game. I think we ended up losing.
Didn't he get sent off for punching someone in a goal after we just conceded?
I think he then punched the dressing room wall afterwards, and Ian Allison was not happy. And obviously, we were in the bar afterwards, and their fans took much delight about absolutely ripping out of them. So, you naughty St Albans geezers, we're Billericay, oosh. And it was just absolute chaos. And I don't really want to go there again, but we're going to have to sort of do this front up, big boy pants on, and we're just going to go in there and turn them over. Job done.
Is it a plastic pitch there?
I think it is now, yes.
I don't know, it wasn't when we went, was it? But there you go.
I can't remember. That game you're talking about, Lee. David Moyo got one of the goals, and the old gunslinger got the other one. 3-2 defeat. Biggest crowd we played in front of between the two clubs, 1,356. But could be a decent crowd Saturday.
Do we have enough in the coffers for a Podful of Saints lawyer to just sort of vet this little passage? Shit, I mean, come on.
I think it might have to be Mrs. Woodley. She might have to do it pro bono.
Mate, she's a lawyer for a bloody good reason, mate. Nothing is pro bono. But anyway, crack on. Sorry, Taz, I interrupted you.
Well, they play 6 league games, won 4 of them, only 1 point outside the playoffs, and that means nothing this early in the season. But they're in good form. So I don't think we're not expecting an easy one.
They won 7-0 in the last round, didn't they? Was it against Stowmarket? So bit of a worry there. But I think the main thing for us is going to be the team selection, isn't it? What does Nubby do? I mean, you've got to play Shaun Jeffers, right?
Well, a Cambia's Cup side because he played in the last round for Tunbridge against Haringey. So automatically you're reducing your attacking options. Are we really going to go down the path of just having Mitch with Gio and others sort of floating around him? This is what I'm saying, because if Jeffers doesn't play, listen, Shaun Jeffers will get dropped again by David Noble. I think that's inevitable. But if he gets dropped on Saturday after what he did against Chelmsford, I think it gives you a very clear indication, if it wasn't clear enough already, about Shaun Jeffers' role in David Noble's eyes. the fact is, if he plays, it means he gets cup tie, so it's harder for him to sort of maybe potentially get a move later on in the season. But you're looking at a preemption tactic. You've got to play the here and now. It's going to be extremely tough. For me, Shaun Jeffers has earned the right to start at least on Saturday, because we don't really know if Gio is going to be back fit yet. And obviously, with all of the rest of the injuries that we've got to hand, it's going to be all hands to the pump, and that includes SJ9.
Well, prior to last Saturday, Shaun had 5 goals in 6 games for us against Chelmsford, of course, the club he joined us from. His record against Billericay is even better. 3 games against them, 4 goals. There's no way David Noble cannot play Shaun Jeffers on Saturday.
You wouldn't have thought so, and I think it would send the wrong message to the travelling Saints fans. We know there'll be plenty travelling there, despite the train strikes on Saturday. There'll be a lot going, and just if you go there and see him not in the starting 11, you think, this could be a tough one this afternoon. And like Lee said earlier, you're going up against a team that we know are going to be difficult, and if they see Shaun Jeffers on the bench, they're going to think we've got a chance here. Whereas if they see Shaun Jeffers in the team, they think, right, we're going to have to actually deal with him today. This is going to be difficult. And with the rest of the changes in the team still required, we don't know who's fit, who's ready. The shape of the team may have to change slightly. That's fine. I'm sure we can deal with that. But I think Nobby's hands might be somewhat tied for Saturday. And you'd have thought, common sense to me would say, try and go with the same 11 that finished on Saturday, that to put in a reasonable performance on Saturday, and then see how you go. I think possible question mark over, I guess, the likes of Lawal potentially. Is he ready to start? But otherwise, yeah. And I think as well, to Shaun's credit, 90 minutes on Saturday? And he wasn't exactly blowing by the end, was he? Considering he's not played barely any minutes of football this season, or discernible minutes, apart from Torquay at home. I mean, that lad's naturally fit, isn't he? He's going to be ready to go on Saturday.
He was ready, because when he come around, all the players come around the back of the goal, didn't they? And sort of shook our hands and stuff like that. And I spoke to him, he said, well done, mate, was superb, we got you back. And he goes, like, I really appreciate it, because he knows what other fans have been saying, and he knows that there's going to be things said about him and things said about the management and how it's all been treated. But he's been nothing but the absolute consummate professional in all of this. He's held his head high, he's remained his dignity, he's kept his service to the club at top level, where he's come in and scored 2 goals in a 2-0 win. Job done. I think it'd be extremely dangerous for David Noble to drop Shaun Jeffers on Saturday. But look, we've been surprised for the preceding 9 weeks of this campaign. So another week isn't going to do us any harm.
Well, of course, he won't be blowing at the end of a game, because as we know, he doesn't do enough running around. Doesn't do any running around. Just scores a stack full of goals.
He's on fire today.
Another thing you said there, Jake, which is of course utter twaddle. We're starting Saturday with the 11 we finished with Saturday. Well, I don't see Ibia can be starting, because you will have Shaun and Mitch up front. Does he bring Gio back in? Or does he leave in midfield as it is? Again, also Lawal was on at the end. I wouldn't start with him. So he's, regardless of the injuries, Nobby's got quite a bit to think about for Saturday, and it's not going to be an easy decision.
Definitely. And I think Gio might be somewhat difficult to fit into the team at the minute, possibly if you're going with Shaun Jeffers. I don't know, unless I suppose you could put him sort of wider right if you want to change the formation slightly and go with more attacking 3 up front. I suppose I say Lawal. I suppose ideally, would you possibly look at putting Dylan Farge in for him, and then bringing in Bowery from the start? But then before the game at Chelmsford, in the match preview, it said Bowery was a big doubt and was going to go under a late fitness test. So is he still struggling? Will he be ready to play a full 90 on Saturday? There's lots of question marks, and I'm sure Nobby is thinking he wasn't expecting all these questions so early in the season. But we've had injuries. He's going to have to deal with it. And I think we've got players, I think they showed on Saturday, that are capable of stepping in and putting in a good performance.
I agree, mate. But the fellas, some of these questions he's put on himself. So, it's going to be absolutely fascinating just to sort of see how both Nobby and the coaching side prepare for this. Because it's going to be, listen, Billericay are going to be in our faces from second one. So we're going to need to sort of match those for physicality, which we know we can do given Saturday's performance. But also we're going to need some ball players. And maybe that's where you sort of try and bring Gio back into the equation as well. So really, really fascinating how these next sort of few days unfold, really.
And of course, Dan Bowie played 70 minutes last week, so he didn't seem to suffer anything then, did he? So you'd imagine he's going to be fully fit and okay for Saturday, which helps Nobby a little bit. But there we go. How confident are we? Come on, let's have some predictions. We've only got one prediction right so far, and it's the youngster. He got a correct score. You and I passed it, Lee, so we won't get it. So we'll let Jake go first on this one.
This must be the first time I've ever led in this competition on this podcast. I'm going to go a tight one. I'm going to go 1-0 Saints.
Lee,
I think it's going to be a score draw, and we're going to bring him back to the park, and then we're going to turn him over there.
Score draw. How many?
2.
2-2.
Yeah.
You're both wrong. It's a 3-1 win.
4.
Right. We look. pick any number you like. Yeah. Right. Well, we haven't got any news of any new signings yet, but I think you mentioned earlier, Lee, we're getting into that season where we could start getting loan players coming in soon. You've got another story, an interesting one with Alan Cochrane.
Oh, I have, yes. So, Alan Cochrane, friend of the podcast, Saints legend, all that jazz, had a very fantastic visit from a Mr. D. Beckham in the week. This is obviously Alan is in charge of the Brentford Penguins programme. So if you go onto David Beckham's Instagram feed, it's all the pictures are on there. So so inspiring for me and Romeo Beckham to spend time with the Brentford Penguins and present their amazing coach Alan Cochrane with the Who Cares Wins Unsung Hero Award. Alan gives so much of his time and love to the Brentford Penguins, one of the UK's only teams for children with Down syndrome. Just love seeing how happy football makes these brilliant kids. And I think for that, the story has escalated across like the various news feeds. Alan not only is a fantastic player for this club, but he's a fantastic ambassador for football worldwide. And to have that sort of recognition from England legend himself. So well done, Al. It's fantastic. And please continue everything you're doing, because you are giving children who would not necessarily have access to this great game an opportunity to shine. So well done, mate.
He's brilliant, isn't he? Brilliant person and most talented footballer I've ever seen in a Normal City shirt.
Oh,
not
one of these probably.
Does that include Frank McCormack, Steve Butler, Kevin Rand? Oh, come on, Tabs. There's been some.
Who's the lad we had on loan from Cambridge last season? David wouldn't stop talking about as well. Glenn McConnell.
Yeah. Compared him to Cockers, as I recall. So.
You did, mate, and that was quite a billing. Unfair one, but that's fine. You were excited.
Yeah, finished his career. Where's he now?
That's the spirit.
On this note.
Right, and don't forget, if it is a draw on Saturday, we're back at Clarets Park next Tuesday, 7:45 kickoff.
Perfect. And if you're want to get in contact about anything, email us, Twitter, Podful of Saints. We're going to go find Dave a lawyer, and hopefully he'll be here next week. We can't promise you that, but on that note, we will.
It'll be Shaun Jeffers.
Thank you very much, everyone. Come on, you Saints. Bye bye.
Yeah.